There was loads and loads of football that took place yesterday.
Yep.
Should we start with the FA Cup semi-final? Loads at Wembley, and we'll be looking ahead to Coventry taking on Manchester United later on, but the winner of that will face Manchester City on May the 25th in the final after they beat Chelsea 1-0 yesterday. They were far from their best, but they bounced back from the disappointment of the Champions League quarter-final exit to Real Madrid as Bernardo Silva scored an 84th minute goal to seal their place then in next month's FA Cup final. Before we get your thoughts on it, Cass, let's hear from Pep Guardiola, who even after winning was irate speaking with reporters surrounding congestion after taking its toll on his players.
I'm here to try to convince you, but guys, I'm right? So it's common sense. I'm not asking something special or privilege. No. Tell me, some of you are not agreeing with me. Even the pundits say, don't complain about the schedule. We don't complain about the schedule. In 7 years, we play every 3 days and we arrive at the last stages in every competition. These guys are an example. We don't complain. But I want to protect all my players because we start in a condition that was a risk for the injury, a risk for the health, a risk for many things. I know they don't care, but I care as I am with them, and I want to protect them. About that, make meetings. I don't want any more meeting. I don't go. Why? Because I have a game in 3 days. I don't have time to attend meetings. I'm sorry, but they decide we will do it.
Okay, so even after registering that victory over Manchester Chelsea, I should say, Pep Guardiola not happy, in particular with the scheduling of this game. Bear in mind they had played on Wednesday, and then obviously they were the first of the semi-finals that were picked, and it's the broadcasters, I guess, ultimately that have picked this game to be.
It's got a point, hasn't it?
Yeah, well, I was going to say, especially as his point as well was, Coventry and Manchester United didn't play.
Yeah.
So why weren't they the first semi-final and us today, for example? You kind of do understand his point. The problem is it then also feeds into that narrative and that conversation we were having yesterday where managers, a lot of Premier League managers in particular, have spoken out about the need for replays, for example, to be, what's the word?
Replayed?
No, as in...
rescheduled?
No, as in no replays.
Cancelled.
Cancelled, whatever it is, I couldn't think of the word. But which I know is now going to be the case. But this is the kind of situation because of the fixture congestion. That's why Pep Guardiola is coming out and saying, look, this is not fair. And that so with those cup replays being scrapped, as I say, it feeds into that conversation that we were having yesterday a little bit as well.
And City look flat.
Yes.
But to be honest now, City have looked like this most of the season.
I know.
I can't remember too many games where they were absolutely sensational. Which we've been spoiled in the past by City's standards. Last year, there was a huge amount of games last season that you could name where City just took on the mantle and really took it to the opposition. They're finding it tough this year.
But does that not then make it more remarkable that they are still winning games? They're not at peak City, yet they're still finding a way to get the job done.
Well, so let's ask, do you think City are a better team this year than last year?
No.
I don't.
I agree with what you're saying in terms of what we're seeing from them. And I agree with you. It feels like there's more to come, but we haven't got that many games to see that more from City.
If you take it back last season, obviously winning the treble and playing a lot of football, that come... because then pre-season was affected. And from the pre-season, they then get onto the season, and they felt like they were sort of playing a little bit of catch-up. They've never really set the heights of the standards we know. It was enough yesterday, but was it because of Otago in goal?
Yeah.
He made a few saves. Jackson didn't take the chances that he was given. But
is it also inevitable when you go from accomplishing the one thing you've been looking to win, the Champions League. So you go from the highs of finally finishing up with the Champions League, winning a treble as a result of that. Is it always inevitable that you might have a dip the next season?
Absolutely.
When you consider Liverpool a couple of seasons ago where they were on course for a quadruple, and then wasn't it last season that it didn't go, it all sort of fell away a little bit?
That's the reason is why it's so hard to do. And it's not done that often because the demands on the players, the squad, with injuries and plus, just the travelling and he says injury himself, Pep Guardiola, every 3 train a game.
Yeah.
And when you're expected to play games so regularly, yesterday they were quite flat. Chelsea, they had enough chances to win the game. and Jackson's got a lot to learn. He's 22 years old, so we have to be careful. Will he one day become a more complete finisher? Because he has to be clinical, because Chelsea won't win games. Chelsea's success, if you take when they had Costa leading the line, and Hazard when he was clinical, and then they had Drogba before him and Lampard. If you go back through their success, they had clinical players in their team that made the difference. This team hasn't got a clinical finisher. But I would argue that lots of teams have that problem, but Chelsea certainly have it because they've spent a hell of a lot of money trying to find guys that have done things that the players have before when they've won many different trophies.
So you're talking about there about Nicholas Jackson, and a lot of those opportunities for Chelsea yesterday fell to him, and he wasn't able to put them away. What do you do when you're a player like that then, when you're getting those opportunities and yet you can't finish it off? So what do you do in the training ground? What are the conversations that you have with your teammates, with your coaches, for example? How can you make it right?
Well, I've had conversations with coaches about finishing, and I've also talked to players that I played who had great records, and most of them would all say, and choose your choice early, as quick as you can. You know when Jackson went through and he tries to go around the goalkeeper for the very early chance, he's got to pick a spot before that. So once he gets the ball out of his feet, look where you want to put it and do it.
And stick to it.
And do it as quickly. Because one of the big things is take things early if you can, because goalkeepers can't get set. But if you take a little bit too long, goalkeepers can see what you're looking at, where you're trying to place the ball, and will get themselves in the way of it more often than not. I think he's got to try and think of 1 and 2 touch finishing as often as he can, especially in one-on-ones. One-on-ones, it's an advantage for the forward, you'd think, but goalkeepers are really good now at slowing you down or making you think of a decision as you're running for a goal.
Yeah.
They're good at it. And I think Jackson's got to be more quick thinking about his goal scoring.
So when you go back to that Everton game and the fight over the penalty with Cole Palmer and Noni Madueke, and then Nicholas Jackson came in as well, can you sort of understand maybe why someone like Keane wanted to take that penalty, wanted to score a goal, get that feeling of scoring once again? Yeah, well,
all goal scorers are judged on how they do, their numbers. It's important to them. And of course, I think he's having a bit of a frustrating time at the moment and getting a lot of chances, because Chelsea fans, you can see their reaction after he misses a chance as well. They were getting angry, the same as they were getting angry with watching every time that a player went through or chose the wrong decision.
Yes,
their forwards have been doing that. Raheem Sterling had that problem, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Raheem Sterling question the same sort of thing about being in position to score or taking too long to make that decision. So it's a frustrating time for the Chelsea forwards.
Yeah, so it's Manchester City, though, that have booked their place in the final of the FA Cup, and they await the winners of Coventry and Manchester United. We'll bring you live commentary of that game a little bit, later on when it kicks off at Wembley. As for Chelsea, then, they are 9th currently in the Premier League. They will very much need to focus on making a late run, perhaps, to secure a place in Europe, as another trophy hope was ended at Wembley. You are tuning into the Weekend Sports Breakfast this Sunday morning. On the way next, we'll review what happened in the Premier League.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.